Well, I hear a story from Ken Corsby. Cricket game in the jungle. Sunday morning right after church. Big crowd assembled. Donkey say me fuss, I batting. You know I love me cricket. Crapper sit down behind the stumps. He say alright, I keep in wicket. Giraffe and kangaroo at fine leg. Snake down in the gully. Umpire parrot in the tree. He say alright fellas, are you ready? And he wants the crowd start to sing very loud if you hear them. Hit the ball, donkey, hit the ball. Cover, drive him and make him ball. Hook the man like Kali Charan and put him straight in the stand. Elephant turn and pick up the ball. He say, I open the bowling. Monkey say, boy, the size of you. If you say you're bowling, you're bowling. Well, elephant walk about half mile, and then he started running. He coming down like a express train. The whole blasted jungle shaking. When he see elephant coming down, old donkey start to shiver. Red Ants hit him a couple bites. He say, man, bat and pads together. And then he wants the crowd start to sing very loud if you hear them. Hit the ball, donkey, hit the ball. Cover, drive him and make him ball. Hook the man like Vivian Richard and put him straight out the yard.
Basement level vibes with another one, straight up blackness. Aye, who tell the truth? Mark Brenscop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Brenscop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Brenscop, straight up from the root. Mark Brenscop, who tell the truth? Mark Brenscop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Brenscop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Brenscop, straight up from the root. Mark Brenscop, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Brenscop stands for unity. One people, one nation, one destiny. Free up the truth in the air, even the blind can see. The deaf can hear, the dumb can talk, the cripple can walk. Boom, who tell the truth? Mark Brenscop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Brenscop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Brenscop, straight up from the root. Mark Brenscop, who tell the truth? Mark Brenscop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Brenscop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Brenscop, straight up from the root. Mark Brenscop, we have to gather wrong, grab a seat and sit down, pay attention. Education, liberation, we have to stand strong. Brenscop upon the radio, lively up the program. Everybody call somebody and let them turn and tune and on the radio and catch the boom song. We boom it up already.
Hello, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm, located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
Mr. Mark, I believe every word of what Mr. Shu is saying. I am also afraid of what Mr. Shu. Mr. Shu, if you are listening, I don't want anybody to harm you. This is a serious thing. Corruption is big, and we Chinese have to stop that. Been bullied by Jack Deal and other government officials to pay bribe. It's big all over Guyana. A Chinese to pay by bribe. Mr. Shu, I hope you to stay strong. Do not. We respect and salute you for your bravery, for coming up and speak against corruption in Guyana. Thank you, Mr. Shu. We appreciate you, Mr. Mark. 马克，我相信每一句苏先生说的话。我现在很担心苏先生。苏先生，如果你在听我说话，我不想任何人威胁你。圭亚那政府腐败很严重，这个是很严重的事情。我们中国人必须停止被那些政府用武力行贿。苏先生，我希望你能继续你的发表，也希望你在新的一年万事如意。
All right. Hey, guess what? It's 8 minutes after 9 o'clock. Let's rock and roll as you get ready. For those of you who shared the link, we thank you so much. And so let's get ready to rock and roll. We have an interesting night. We have quite a few folks on with us this evening. Don't guess who are some of these folks because you are definitely going to lose your bet. Please do not bet. Do not assume. Do not even take that chance because you guys do not have an idea. I'm just telling you right off the bat, you have absolutely no idea. Don't guess. Do not guess, right? Good evening to all of you. Rajendra Dinat, how are you doing? How are the folks out there? And where sometimes it's difficult to figure out where you are. My good friend Rajendra and Forbes, you guys are already here. Forget about the Buxtonians, the Bookers and all. They're already here. This is a fixed seat for them. They have nowhere else to go. Well, they have options, but this is your favorite nightly, straight up, professional, where we just give it to you, the truth, mind you. We give you guys the truth in a very nice, straightforward, professional way. They hardly have any barking on this program, if you know what I mean. All right, you should have been a bit mischievous. You should have seen my facial expression in that, right? We just don't bark at all. I just said, do not guess because you guys are not going to win at all. Coming up, starting at anytime soon, we will start with some of our guests. We want to get to the bottom of stuff. And if they do join us, well, we can get to the bottom of situations. If not, but Vanetta, good evening to you. No, it's not Civic. Civic is not on tonight. Rhonda Lane. Here is what I want to talk about Rhonda Lane. Can the operator, Lemon, get this Lagu Bagu? Please get this Lagu Bagu, who has a head that only the folks who are chanting, we gonna walk on them. This Lagu Bagu has such a head, a walk on them head. I know, look, here what? You guys have been beating up on me to get. Thank you. So, the Lagu Bagu. Look, and this is for the trench crappos. And sorry, this is not a show that we even pay much attention to trench crappos, but it's hurting the chief trench crappo, the butcher from Unity. It's hurting them. This butcher from Unity. So here's what's happening. They're under pressure. They're under tremendous pressure. Right, Tony Hack? Good evening to you. They're under tremendous pressure. I noticed Paramdai, Haricharan is with us this evening. She put LOL. And I'm wondering whether Paramdai or Paramday, they probably call her Paro. Look, come on, Paramdai. Look at it from this standpoint. If I am kidding you, Paramday or Paramdai, depending on if you're in America, if you are in America or you're quarantined or equivalent, you say Paramday or Paramdai. And I am almost certain I would put my head on the block that Paramdai call name is Paro. Right. Good evening to Paramdai. I don't know if she's mocking us or she just wants to join us. Either way, we appreciate that you are here, but don't get out of hand, Paramdai. Don't get out of hand. You know what I mean? Paro, Auntie Paro. Good evening to you, Auntie Paro. Let me see what some of you are saying. There's somebody here with the name Joylyn X. Lion Alexander. Holy smoke, them names, huh? They don't like this, we gonna walk on them thing. They don't like this, we gonna walk on them thing. Look, guys, come on. We ask you guys in a very polite, in a very nice way. Um, Thank you for sharing the link. We don't bust open nobody's head. We don't yell at anybody here. We're nice. We're soft. We're sweet. We're very, calm. We don't yell at people. We're not angry. We don't have outbursts. That's a new image that we want to maintain. Good evening to all of you. All of you, good evening. All of those folks at Philippi and the folks at Alice. Good evening to all of you. The folks at Arkline, Wim Village, all over. The folks at Georgetown, all over. Good evening to all of you. Paro, also. Paro. All right, Mary Baird, good evening. Guess who is with us this evening? Bright and ready to start the program. Lots of things happening in Guyana. Lots and lots of things happening. Before we bring this guy on, no stranger to you guys. If you guys were to bet, you would have lost that bet. Ganesh Mahipaul is with us this evening. Look, somebody taking picture. Somebody, look, there we go. Ganesh, who once claimed to have shares. And they have lots of people claiming to have shares at 107.1 FM. Lots of people are claiming to have shares. How many of you guys, some people when they say they have shares, we just leave them. I just leave them as it is. It's okay. Ganesh is one of them, but Ganesh no longer has shares here at 107.1 FM. He get knocked out. We knock you out. Good evening to you, sir. You're Mike. How are you?
Good evening, Mark. I'm good. My phone is inundated with phone calls. But I'm good. I'm good.
We're going to get to the bottom of the phone calls and so forth, but I just had to make it quite clear that Ganesh no longer has any shares here. Ganesh, it's really good to see you this evening. The focus basically, and I have it here, and thanks to our producer that says, "Dear opposition, y'all stay focused. Y'all stay focused." They got some of them gonna get within y'all midst, and they are very bitter. They're not really 100%. Y'all stay focused. Now let's get straight to all of these phone calls upon phone calls you're getting and so forth. Let's clear that up before we get into any ricketics. We got to talk about the alleged rapist. We got to talk about these guys in the PPP. Do not allow yourselves, folks, to be distracted. But Mr. Mahipaul, let me just say, I noticed some of our people, they're big and they get sense. Somebody said Ganesh name calling. Ganesh, your name calling. But let me say this here too, and we're preparing to welcome Mr. Vincent Henry as well. Let me say this to you guys, all of you. I know Ganesh name is calling. I have seen some stuff that are said to be coming from Ganesh. Look, I'm a criminologist, apart from what is it, whatever you want to call me, a talk show host or whatever. And I don't believe it. Point blank, I don't believe it at all. I just don't believe it. The PPP is so dirty that if they want to do something like that, they got to come better. And when they do, that is when I'm going to be straight up with Ganesh. But for now, I'm saying to you guys, do not believe the propaganda and the hype, because it makes no sense that it is not convincing at all. Mr. Mahipaul, welcome. That's just my opinion based on what I saw. It is not convincing. It is stupidness. But go ahead, sir.
Yes, thank you, Mark. Let me say, first of all, I entered politics in 2008. I've always been telling you and many other people that. And I know the game that I'm in. I know the players. I know them very well. I have a lot of experience, I would like to believe, and I have a lot more to gain. And I went around about 6:30 or so. Some people called me and they asked me what's going on, and they sent me a set of screenshots. And I looked at it and I called my wife and I told her to have a look. We both had a laugh. And that was it basically. And then a number of other people keep calling and so on. And all I want to say to people, don't be distracted. The focus here is on the People's Progressive Party and what there are a lot of evidence to support. And from the moment I saw my name on that letter, that statement the commander of Region 2 purportedly took from the young lady who is the victim in all of this that is unfolding with Dharamlal, I knew that Dharamlal would try his utmost to get back at me. And I believe that those screen grabs and those screenshots that are circulating on social media are basically the work of him and perhaps the other people who are behind the propaganda pages of the People's Progressive Party. But oh man, they could have done it a little bit better, you know, because outside of me knowing to myself, Mark, that that is not me, I have carefully examined the particular screen grab that had my name and number on it. And you know, when you send pictures or you exchange documents or you exchange links from one phone to another via WhatsApp, you can go back and find those pictures, links, and documents at a particular part that says media links and docs. And it will tell you the number of media links and docs that are there. And this particular grab had none. But yet, there is the case that there are pictures that were sent by me to somebody or whatever. But listen, let's not be distracted by that stupidity. I am a politician. I've been in politics long now. I know that this comes with the territory. I'm very happy that my wife understands the territory we're in. I'm very happy that my entire family circle knows the kind of territory I am in. And they know the kind of people that I'm dealing with on the opposition side. And I will not be distracted. The issue here, and I still want the commander to give an explanation to this nation. How is it that this young lady, whom I've never met, this young lady who apparently made some damning allegations, and it came out via your program. I saw it on your program, Mark. You were the person who first released the story to the public, and I was appalled by it. And then the next morning, I think when you had your morning program, you also spoke about it. And subsequent to that, which I think was Friday morning, Thursday night, you broke it, and Friday morning, you also carried it. Then the Friday during the day, a statement emanated from the young lady. Mind you, I paid very careful attention, and I saw that you did not expose the picture of the girl in terms of her identity. So it was a little shaky how the commander could have gotten to this particular individual to get a statement from her, disassociating herself from all that you said. And in that disassociation of the girl, there is a particular line that said, I never related anything to Ganesh Mahipaul or anyone else. I was like, how the hell my name reached there? But notwithstanding my name being there, I believe to myself that Minister Dharamlal went to Essequibo, tried to engage and took the commander or took the people to the commander, whichever way, and that's how the statement was given, and it was merely Dharamlal saying to put these things in the statement. That's what I believe. I don't know if that is true, but that's how I believe it based on how I saw it unfolding. So in Dharamlal's warped mind, in Dharamlal's corrupt head, in Dharamlal's perverted brain, he seems to believe that Ganesh Mahipaul is behind the whole aspect of trying to bring him down. But I'm not trying to bring him down, Mark. I'm not trying to expose Dharamlal. I am doing that. I'm not trying to do that. I am doing that because Dharamlal is a part of a regime that has a number of people who are accused or were accused in the past for these heinous crimes. And it is them who ought to clear their names. I can go back as far back as 2014, where newspaper articles referenced Dharamlal in similar allegations. And then I know that I interacted with a young lady. I interacted with a young lady, being the shadow minister of local government and regional development. My duty is to have my eyes on Dharamlal and Anand Prasad, ensure that they stay in check. I am the person in the National Assembly on the opposition side with that responsibility to expose, oppose, and depose those two particular individuals directly. And I would like to believe that I'm doing a fair enough or a good job. And in so doing, there are many things that I've exposed before with Dharamlal, so I can understand him wanting to believe that I'm the center of attention behind all that is happening. But Mark, the fact of the matter remains, a young lady made some damning allegations against Dharamlal. Dharamlal was arrested and he went to the police station. Based on news report, he chose to remain silent and the matter is under investigation. I believe that if Dharamlal is not guilty, then he would have already, in his usual pompous self, said something on social media, disassociating himself from these allegations, but he did not. Instead, he ran to the very man whom he is known to criticize. He ran to the very man who he said umpteen times bring no value to Guyana. He ran to the very man who he said cannot count and don't know nothing. He ran to the very man whose wife he constantly abused in the National Assembly with derogatory comments. He ran to that very man. He ran to the lawyer, Nigel Hughes, to represent him in this matter. He clearly doesn't have any faith in Sanjeev Dattadin, who's a lawyer on their side. He clearly has no faith in any recommendation coming from Anil Nandalal. He clearly has no faith in lawyers that are associated directly to the People's Progressive Party. He chose to go to Nigel Hughes, who is one of the best attorneys we have in this country, and he is asking Nigel Hughes to represent him. Nigel Hughes is a lawyer by profession. Nigel Hughes has a law firm. Nigel Hughes took the case, and Nigel Hughes will represent him. My fear in all of this is the representation that that beautiful young lady will receive. I don't believe the state should fail this young lady. I believe they should give her the best representation there is in the country, or even look outside of the country to get a representation that is equal or better than Nigel Hughes in this instance, so that this young lady can, justice can be served here, because the young lady, based on what I've read, gave an interview to an organization, met with the Child Care and Protection Agency, is in Child Care and Protection Agency custody, gave a recorded statement which did not differ from what you, Mark Benchcop, exposed on your program. And I am told that the young lady is sticking to her original story, and she's very much in need of all the necessary support that one can provide to her. And all of these things, when you put it into context, and when you take what has transpired from the PPP administration, Ganesh Mahipaul, I am forced to conclude that the Irfan Ali administration is not treating this matter the way it ought to be treated. Dharamlal should go home. Dharamlal should be fired. Dharamlal has embarrassed the country Guyana. Dharamlal, well, the entire PPP does embarrass Guyana. But in this instance, we have a particular individual with damning allegations, and he should not continue to sit as a minister of government. And I am calling on Irfan Ali to do the honorable thing. Man up, pull up your pants, and take control of the situation. Release Dharamlal of his duties and allow us to move forward and continue to hold them accountable for all their corruption and malpractices. Right now, we got to hold them accountable for having alleged rapists in their regime. That's an added thing now that we have on them. But Mark, I am not distracted. The protest continues. We will be protesting tomorrow again in front of the in front of the office of the president there on Vlissingen Road. And I encourage people, come out. Be bold enough to stand up for this young lady. Be bold enough to call for justice. And again, what is circulating with me it makes me laugh. And I am strong. I am going to withstand all that is happening, and I'm enjoying the little stupidity at the same time. I must say that.
All right, Ganesh Mahipaul, certainly we all are enjoying the little stupidity at the same time and the cheap effort, in my opinion, on the part of the PPP to basically attempt to bowl a googly ball at you. It's not convincing at all. Having said that, we also have, and thanks for that opening remarks, Mr. Mahipaul, MP, your colleague, Member of Parliament, Vincent Henry, the Honorable MP Vincent Henry is with us. Good evening to you, sir. Your microphone. Your microphone, please.
You have to put on your spectacle there, Vincent.
Okay.
Somehow, yeah,
yes.
There you go.
Yes, it's on. Yes.
Good evening to you.
Good evening, Mark. Good evening, Ganesh. Listeners, I'm so happy to be on this program tonight. Right now, I'm in Latham, near to the Brazilian border, and I am an MP representing Region 9, and I kind of pride myself in being involved and representing also Indigenous issues, both in Parliament and out of Parliament. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and we appreciate the time you've taken from your schedule to be here with us. What's the mood like amongst the Indigenous community in light of this damning revelation of a brutal rape, allegations of a brutal rape against a 16-year-old Indigenous girl? What's the mood like right now across the Indigenous community?
The mood is one in which the people are very worried and are wondering how this government could allow something like this to happen to Indigenous women, especially over a period of time, without taking firm action but stopping to it. And those of you who know the Indigenous people will know that we are a quiet people. We are not the type to go and climb a tree and on top of the tree thump our chests and make noise. But we speak to one another, we move quietly. We pride ourselves in having what we call the Kanaima way of dealing with issues, which is a quiet way, but very effective. And indeed, what has happened here has, some people have already made statements on it. One or two shows. I noticed the National Two Shows Council eventually came out after a long period of time, I would say, a few days. And so there is a lot of worry in the Indigenous community. But I could tell you something before I forget, and that is this government, or any government, should not take the Indigenous people for granted. Someone might feel, or a party might feel that they have you under their umbrella, and that you will always be there with them in good times or bad times. But then when such things happen, like what happened to this young girl, and other things that happened before, the people will decide to make a move, and that can be detrimental, especially to the People's Progressive Party. I can give you an example of what happened at the last elections, two short elections, where our people were taken for granted in Region 9. And the PPP political activists went village to village to ensure that the people voted for whom they wanted. Tusha was chosen by the PPP. They even threatened the people to say that if you don't vote for our Tusha, the person we choose, we will cut off all the support we given to you, etc. But lo and behold, when the results came out, the PPP was totally shocked. Most of the larger communities in Region 9 voted either for persons who are
For some reason, we're not getting to hear you. We're not hearing you, sir. Sorry about that. Not sure what happened. But before we get back to Mr. Vincent and his connection, sorry about that, Vincent Henry, we're just not hearing you. Ganesh, total disrespect to the entire indigenous community. And these are individuals who have been taken advantage of by the PPPC regime, for the most part, advantage of. What is your take on what your colleague MP Henry just said?
Mark, let me say this to you. The indigenous people of our country, they are our first people. And they are unfortunately the people who suffer the most. Suffer in the sense of sorry about that, Mark, is the phone calls coming in.
That's all right.
Suffer
We can understand the phone calls. Lots and lots of phone calls. But go ahead.
yeah, lots and
Yeah.
lots of phone calls. They suffer in the sense of development by way of infrastructure. They suffer in the sense of all the other amenities that are available to the other peoples of our country. Because of their location, they suffer. And I think that we as a country, we are in a better position now to ensure that we do what President Granger has begun. And that is, President Granger, in his campaign for presidency in 2015, made it pellucid. And that is, we must bridge the gap that exists between the hinterland and the coastland. And the whole aspect of that was not only to put the necessary infrastructure and otherwise in these areas so that we can open our lands and we can occupy our lands and we can expand our growth as a country, but it was also with the intent of bettering the lives of our indigenous people. And that is why when you look at the Granger administration and the amount of work, the amount of investment that was done by the APNU AFC in places like Lethem, places like Madia, places like Mabaruma, places like Port Kaituma, places, all of these areas, they are hinterland regions where our indigenous brothers and sisters receive services. If you go to Lethem, you will see that there is a proper road that was built there by the APNU. If you go to places like Kaikumbi, places like Hiowa, places like Mokomoko, I visited all of these places in Region 9. You will see that potable water was brought to these communities under the APNU AFC, David Granger administration. If you go to Port Kaituma and you go to Matthews Ridge and you go to Mabaruma, development started there in those communities under the Granger regime or the Granger administration. I shouldn't say regime. PPP is a regime. The AP and UAFC was an administration. And I want to say clearly that that work that President Granger and his team began was merely to better the lives of our indigenous people, because we recognized and we must appreciate and we must embrace that the indigenous people are our first people, and they are perhaps the most important set of people that have been left behind and can no longer be left behind. And I believe we are in a better position now, financially, that is, as a country, to ensure that there are investments put into the indigenous regions and indigenous communities. So as much as you're spending on infrastructure and so on the coastland, we must remember that the human aspect of spending resources now ought to also be focused on these regions that don't have that support system, especially from the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security, the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Public Security. All of these ministries should budget a significant sum of money to spend in these respective indigenous regions, indigenous peoples' regions, so that the better life can be delivered to these people that have suffered enough. I know that the AP and UAFC loves the indigenous community, and we will continue to stand and represent them with our brothers Vincent Henry, Ronald Cox, and our sister Dawn Hastings Williams.
Okay, well said, Mr. Ganesh Mahipaul. 39 minutes after 9 o'clock. Ganesh is spending the entire 1 hour with us. Nobody could blame Ganesh of being anywhere else. Dharamlal, we understand you. Nobody could blame Ganesh of being anywhere else but right here this evening. So keep an eye on the PBP and their propaganda. And now let's go back to Mr. Vincent. Sorry about your internet connection. Can you, sir, give us an idea what transpired during the local government elections, especially in Lethem and other parts around in our indigenous community? What transpired? Did people go out and vote? Did they have confidence in the PPP? Talk to us, please, sir.
Mark, I'm having a difficulty hearing what you're saying. I didn't hear what you said just now. Sorry.
What can you explain to us what transpired during the course of local government elections? What were the reaction of especially folks within our indigenous community about the PPP and their propaganda?
Well, let me say this very clearly that people were calling me to ask what happened at that elections. And I told them quite clearly that there was a big propaganda that was unleashed on the nation by the PPP. And they even went so far as to say that they would be taking control of the towns that have the larger populations. And they utilized massive resources, and they really went full out for it. But the results, when it came and we began to analyze it, showed clearly the PPP did not get what they wanted. As a matter of fact, I would say that they lost that election, because what they normally get in the outlying areas they got, but what they really wanted, the prize that they wanted, they just did not get. And I would say kudos to the people of the tongues, the people of Guyana, I would say, for seeing through the PPP, seeing that they are just not good for us. And there are so many things that happened previously that only someone who is a diehard PPP or someone who doesn't understand what is going on would vote for them, like Mocha, and those other things. Though where they destroy the people's houses, and when you saw pictures of some indigenous people's houses were being destroyed, there should have been a negotiation before that happened, before anything like that could have happened, and that would have never happened. Yes, indeed.
I have a quick question before I welcome. I noticed
Did you
no
hear me?
stranger, no stranger to you guys here. Our accountant on 107.1 FM. Ganesh, yes, we do have an accountant now, since you no longer hold any shares here. Wayne Caesar is with us. Good evening, Wayne.
Good evening, Mark. Good evening, Ganesh, and good evening to you, Mr. Henry.
Good
Before
evening,
we get
Wayne.
to
Good evening. Make sure Mark pay you well. He wasn't paying me well,
Good
so I
evening.
You was, don't worry, Ganesh. We'll talk about it.
but Ganesh, don't, because the PPP's propaganda is strong and we gotta fight them back. Don't use the word pay well. Don't use the word pay you well.
I hear you. I hear you, Mark. I hear you.
Ignore the PPP's propaganda. Mr. Henry, the Honorable MP, can you give us an idea? Because people have been saying, look, the indigenous community must come out and protest in their numbers about what has happened to that indigenous 16-year-old girl who was brutally raped, allegedly by a minister of the government, a so-called minister of this so-called government. Why aren't we seeing members of the indigenous community come out in their large numbers where you are and other places?
Mark, like I mentioned before, and maybe you didn't hear it, my people, the indigenous people, we are not the type to, you know, go and perform large protests and whatnot. We mainly understand or what is happening, and we choose the right time to make our feelings, you know, be be, not only be heard, but heard in a way that is resounding. And that's why I'm saying that the time will come when the indigenous people will will signal and show the PDP government that they do not have control over us, and that this incident that happened there, which is just a combination of other incidents of such nature, is gone too far, and I'm sure that our people will, when the time comes to really stand up, and that's at the elections, we are going to be standing up. I mentioned before that the PVP thought they had us under control for the 2000 elections, but this did not happen. They went from village to village to coerce and to bully the people, to make ask them, demanding that they vote for the PPP's choice. When the results came out, it came out against the PPP. So our people know when to make our mark and make our voices be heard, and that will be happening. I can tell you that. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable MP. And I did hear you earlier, but I just thought I rephrase the question so that we can get a better understanding, because we have been hearing comments, reading comments, and hearing calls for our indigenous brothers and sisters to come out in large numbers. I know you have, I know our Honorable General Secretary, or the Honorable General Secretary of the People's National Congress has been very, very vocal as well as other MPs. But let us bring Wayne Caesar in, and the rampant disrespect by the PPP regime towards our indigenous brothers and sisters. Mr. Caesar?
Yeah, well, Mark, look, it's our indigenous brothers and sisters, like Ganesh was saying, they need to bridge the gap, between the interlands and where our indigenous people are located. So sometimes they are not recognized the way they should be recognized. And yes, they are our first people, and we need to recognize and more so respect them more. And that respect has been lacking, especially when it comes to the PPPC government. Yes, they have bullied those people. And yes, we are seeing what is happening to the indigenous people under this installed government. Look, the tragedy we just recovering from, and we're not going to recover anytime soon from that tragedy in Madia. I'm not going to forget that. So if the PPPC think that we forgot that, we have not forgot that. And now the rape of this, the alleged rape of this young woman, and I know there are many, many other young women out there to still come forward. So this might just be the tip of the iceberg, but we have hope, Mark. And like Mr. Henry said, the indigenous people have a profound way, of making their presence felt. And I really, really believe at the next general and regional elections, they will make their presence felt, profoundly.
All right, well said, Mr. Caesar. Let's head back over. Can't disagree with anything there, Mr. Caesar. I'm looking at some of the comments. Almost all of them are agreeing with the Honorable MP Vincent Henry. So, Mr. Henry, we move over now to the Honorable MP Ganesh Mahipaul, the man of the moment. The man of the moment, indeed. Mr. Mahipaul, what is your take on Jack Dale now saying that he wants to work along with the opposition, and that the opposition and the PPP have, quote unquote, settled old scores? Who did that? Where and when and what old scores? Talk to us, please, sir.
I don't know what old score. I listened to Jack Dio the other day. I deliberately went and listened. I don't normally listen to him, but I deliberately went and listened because I was called and I was told that he said that he's prepared to debate anybody from the opposition except Ganesh Mahipaul. Well, usually when you don't want to face somebody, you just quickly disassociate yourself from them, right? But listen, there's no old scores that are settled. What I want to say is that we have a job as the parliamentary opposition. I don't believe that that is our rightful place because, as I have constantly said, and I will repeat for your viewers, the elections of 2020 were rigged. It was marred with corruption. It was marred with abnormalities, irregularities, and anomalies. I sat in those elections, the recount process, and I have unearthed a number of discrepancies, anomalies, and abnormalities. What you see there, 61 dead voters, 4,864 absent voters, 150 stuffed ballot boxes, 47 ballot boxes without documents. It's really 49. 1,278 missing oaths of identity. These are not made up things. These are things that I sat, saw, and signed it to on an observation form. The People's Progressive Party, their people signed on it too. And all the other subsets of the PPP, they also signed on. And the agreement that Claudette Singh is well informed and aware of was a 4-stage process. When we opened the ballot boxes and we began the count, our second stage required us to ensure that the reconciliation occurred. And then you are supposed to treat the observation report with importance so that you can justify at the end and bring to the people of Guyana a final credible count. That is what we set out to do in those recounts, a final credible count. So we must never forget that the People's Progressive Party Civic is squatting in office in borrowed robes, and their days are numbered, to which they will be unseated sooner rather. Forgive me, Mark, the calls are coming in. And I want people, Guyanese especially, to recognize that at a time when our country is having an influx of billions of dollars from oil resource, which is expected to be spent on the people are being spent are being spent on friends, families, and favorites of the PPP. And this whole hoax that Irfan Ali is mamagizing himself over as one Guyana, what is happening with Dharamlal and the way he is treated by the Guyana police force is a clear indication that we don't have one Guyana. Because if those allegations were made against an ordinary Guyanese citizen, the police would have probably already reached the home of that ordinary citizen, arrest that ordinary citizen, shackle them, handcuff them, push, drag them to the police station, and then lock them up. Sometimes you hear stories of the people who are accused not even being afforded a telephone call, not even of being afforded the courtesy of being spoken to in a manner with respect. Dharamlal did not get that kind of treatment, Mark. Dharamlal went at sunset to the police in the company of his lawyer. Dharamlal did not see the lockups. He sat in the CID office, as was reported to me. He sat there for a mere 3 or 4 hours or thereabout. And then he subsequently paid $1 million as they claim to be a bail. But I don't believe it was a bail per se, because I believe that you can only go on bail once you are charged. And I think what the police did there was to collect a sum of money and hold it as surety, if that is the right word, for him to come back the next morning. And when he comes back the next morning, they will do what they have to do. They will continue to hold that money until they put charges on him, if they do. But that kind of luxury treatment is not what the ordinary citizens of this country get.
Mr. Mahipaul, you are correct. We have seen Roxanne Myers locked up, a woman locked up for 72 hours. We have seen Lowenfield, Trevor Ben, a whole host of others, Mr. Ogunzi, locked up for 72 hours, chained and shackled. And look, a guy, an alleged rapist, someone who brutally raped a 16-year-old girl, was allowed to walk out of the police station after just about 3 hours. Regardless of who is his lawyer or not, we are looking and we are seeing the one-sidedness of the justice system, of the police force. Speaking of the police force, I'm hearing that the acting commissioner of police will be out of there by the end of this month. So he's gone. And the toss-up for that is either the crime chief, Mr. The crime chief. You guys know Blanham, and the guy who's over at the SOCU. So the toss-up is there for that. But before, let us bring back Mr. Henry, and then we go over to Mr. Caesar as we look at wrap-up time. Mr. Henry, the Honorable MP, what is your take on the lies coming out of the PPP since the tragic deaths of 20 young persons in Madhya, 20 young Indigenous girls and 1 boy? We have heard Irfan Ali promised a commission of inquiry. Nothing at all. Please speak to us about that, and how do you feel about the lies coming out of Irfan Ali's mouth and the PPP?
Well, the president is a big letdown. When we Indigenous people talk about a president, we expect someone who can make decisions for himself, someone who can be able to reason and to be fair. But what we have noticed here is that the deaths of our indigenous children is being swept not only on the carpet, but being swept away into the Atlantic Ocean. Um, the leading up to the fire, we understood that UNICEF had made recommendations and had forewarned the Ministry of Education that the dorms, not only that dorms, but other dorms were not ready for the housing of children and were dangerous to life. Now, a caring government, a caring Ministry of Education would have immediately taken action to safeguard our children. But instead, we heard that they were busy doing other things. The Minister of Marine Affairs, we are told, visited the village, the town regularly, and visited the area not too far from the dorms every weekend or so, almost every weekend. And the kind of activity that she was involved in um, was really shocking, and she just didn't care. And that is one of the reasons why our children suffer. This government is no good for the people of Guyana. It's no good for the indigenous people. They have been treading on our rights one after the other. And it's time for us as a people to stand up in our own way against this government. And if you give me a chance, I'll just make two more points. One,
Yeah.
for example, the, the ISCHR said that the government had trampled on about 18 rights of the indigenous people of the Sinru. And in answer to that, the government said in Starbuck News that the people of the Sinru are no longer indigenous people because they are living in a cash economy. I mean, you carry money to buy things, and because of that, you're not indigenous. They're saying that the infrastructure of the community is no longer indigenous. They're saying that because the people have gone to Christianity, they have been converted to Christianity, they are no longer indigenous. Mark, this government really doesn't want the indigenous people to have rights. And I can go on and on, but I know the time is short. Thank you.
Mark,
Well, I
before
appreciate.
you bring in Wayne, let me add to what
Sure.
Vincent said by just saying to you that in our capacity as members of parliament, a motion was submitted to the National Assembly calling on the government to declare the site where the girls were unfortunately where they unfortunately lost their lives, and the one little boy, to declare the site a historical memorial site. We are also asking for a monument to be constructed there in memory of the young ladies and the little boy. And we are also calling for a commission of inquiry into the deaths of these young children. And we want that commission of inquiry to happen in a way where consultation is done with the leader of the opposition, so that the terms of reference can encompass the entire country, and also the composition of the commission must be people who are reputable both at the national and international level. That motion was submitted 2 days ago. It is going through the trial phase or the testing phase through the clerk of the National Assembly and the Speaker of the National Assembly. And once approved, will be on the order paper, and we will be debating it. I see
Before we
Vincent.
get to Mr.
I see
Caesar,
Vincent shook his
thanks,
head when I
I
said
laugh.
once approved.
thanks for your patience, Mr. Caesar. But I observed that that's a trademark of Mr. Caesar. That shake head there.
That's why I said
Thank you,
once
Mr.
approved,
Caesar.
right? That's why I said once approved. And
Mr. Vincent,
We have
Vin-
also a number of motions and questions on the order paper. So we are patiently awaiting the calling of Parliament. The Guyana system requires the PPP government or whoever is in government for them to call the Parliament. But there are a number of motions, questions, and bills that are sitting there from the opposition, awaiting to be debated.
okay, so Honorable MP Henry, what's this about? Talk to us.
Well,
Con-
well, MP Ganesh mentioned that it has to pass by or through the the Speaker of the House. And I shook my head because that is like passing through the eye of a needle. And if you're a camel, it's difficult to get through that gentleman.
Yeah,
Because
go ahead.
for me, he is not there to serve the people of Guyana. He is there to serve the People's Progressive Party. And that is a big, big difference. I know that when the APNU gets back into government, a proper speaker will be put there, be elected there. Thank you.
Thank you again, Honorable MP. As we look at closing time, I want to ask, and I'll have Mr. Mahipal as well as Mr. Henry respond to this question. What should happen to this commander who is under tremendous pressure to resign? We have heard members of the opposition, we have heard members of civil society, we have heard almost everyone is saying that this culprit should resign. Mr. Caesar, your take on that, please, sir.
Yeah, Mark, I believe he should resign with immediate effect. Look, first thing, he was not operating within the scope of his duties, right? He should have been taking a statement from that young lady. He should not have been coercing her to disregard our original statement and move towards a statement that he wants, to put in place to, eliminate those that would have victimized that young lady. So he was not operating within the ambit of law, and therefore, he wasn't representing the victim, which is what he was supposed to be doing here, protecting her, taking a proper statement from her. Instead of that, and look, listen, what this man did, you could even call it bribe. A bribe doesn't always have to be money, you know and it's ridiculous. Mark, you just seen corrupt police officers after corrupt police officers, and it's the Guyanese people tax money is paying for these goons who get into the police force and just behave like flat idiots.
I've been told that there are a group of folks who are currently calling for this guy to be removed with immediate effect. And, organizations in the US have been notified by this about this guy's action. And the US, especially and Canadians, are very strict when it comes to these individuals when they apply for their visas and so forth and so on. But we can talk about that some other time. I know Ganesh has had a very busy day. You yourself, Mr. Caesar, and MP Henry as well. But Ganesh, your take on this while we lead into closing remarks. But we'll start with Mr. Henry for his closing remarks. But let us get a comment from you first on this, Mr. Mahipal.
Mark, I'm going to take a different slant to the issue. You see, what is happening in this country, people have to understand how polarized and politicized our organizations are. First of all, the Guyana Police Force is supposed to be an independent organization that should not be influenced by politicians. That is unfortunately not what is happening in Guyana. I don't know this gentleman, but this gentleman had a paper that he signed on that had my name to it. And I think he could have been more professional than to entertain such a document. But what I fear is that perhaps he was called by his senior. And who knows, his senior may have gotten political instruction, and this man was merely acting to keep his job, to protect his earning, to save his family. That is the kind of situation police officers find themselves in this country. And we can sit here and we can say that he should have taken the moral high ground. We can say that he should have done what is right. But we have track records of police officers, public servants, teachers, doctors, nurses who took the moral high ground, who did what is right, and they ended up being victimized. A police officer that comes to mind was that very David Ramnarine. when he spoke out about the campaign money when he was at Region 7, I think, controlling the Region 7 and 8 area, the hinterland regions. And he was targeted, if my memory serves me correctly. So the problem lies with the root cause of the problem has to do with the commissioner of police who sits in that chair as commissioner and him taking instructions from politicians. And if he does not do that, then he can effectively administer over a force that will indeed satisfy their motto as service and protection. I am against what this officer did. Don't get me wrong. I'm against what he did. I am only trying to put into context how corrupt our police force can be when politicians interfere in the way they administer their functions. And nothing, I have to be proven wrong that this gentleman was not given political, I have to be proven wrong that he was not given political instructions. I believe firmly that he was given instructions from people higher than him, and that is why he had to do what was done. Quite unfortunate. I don't agree with what he did, but I believe in order for us to fix the police force, root out the problem, we have to get rid of the political dictators that want to give instructions to this entity. Mark, I'm not hearing you.
Yeah, sorry about that. Our operator mute my mic. I don't know if you instructed them because I think this guy.
They still have shares there.
I think this guy, and nothing wrong with good people having shares at 107.1 FM. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Good people, that is. This guy should be fired. This guy, there's no excuse whether political orders, he should be fired. He knew what he was up to. He could have basically said, look, me no want to deal with this matter. Because the same way he removed a majority of the African Guyanese policemen and women from his division and placed them with a bunch of yes men and yes women and so forth and so on, according to information, mind you, he knew exactly what he was up to. He should be fired. No excuses for him at all. Remember, there was Dion Bascom, a detective sergeant, who came outright and he was bold enough to speak out about corruption in the Guyana police force. And the very police force is victimizing this guy, this detective, right now over a situation, alleged murder suspect, Azruddin Mohammed, who's being protected by this guy, Irfan Ali, and this thing, the acting commissioner of police. So getting back to this individual who attempted to allegedly cover up this whole brutal rape allegation against this young lady, he should be fired. We don't need these culprits in the Guyana police force. Story done. Over to you, Mr. Henry. Your take on this, and we'll start off with you and your closing remarks, please, sir.
Okay, I agree that the Guyana police force should be one to serve all Guyanese without fear or favor. And the law should be dispensed equally and not be dispensed in a way that would allow the ruling party, any ruling party, to give directives, especially against their opponents, or to give directives that can allow people who have power to get off scot-free. So, with that in mind, he and others should be put in a position to face the consequences, especially, it may not happen now. It may not happen now, but time coming down the line, we must have an elephant's memory to remember these guys who did that. And I want to say also that the Honorable, I'm so accustomed in Parliament to saying Honorable, but this one is much different. That Dharmlal.
The dishonorable.
Yeah, this Honorable Dharmlal.
Not Dharmlal, Honorable, not tonight. But go ahead, sir.
Yes, As a matter of fact, in my first speech, I called somebody, I wasn't because they might carry me to court, the Madlal. Somebody I called the Madlal. And it's been proven. I, I want to say that what he has been accused of, yes, he has to be proven guilty. But like I mentioned before, this is not the first time we have heard such accusations. This is a combination of activities. In one of my parliamentary speech, I mentioned about his extracurricular activities whenever he comes to Region 9. I was talking about those sort of things that he would do. And he should not only be removed as as a minister, but he should also be relieved of his position as a member of parliament. We, what are we doing to have such persons in our parliament? And this is not the only time that we have made our parliament look really, really bad. Remember the time when he spoke about the dildo and things like that? And instead of being sanctioned, he was given a tap on the back and allowed to continue in his merry ways. He has to go. And the indigenous people, we have power in our hands. We have power in our hands. And when our children are being abused, when our young school girls are being abused by those in such high powers, we must use the power that we have in our hands. And the National People's Council, you came on board. We want to hear more from you. You're not to sit there and be a puppet of this PPP. You are there to be there on our to stand up on our behalf, Indigenous people. Thank you very much.
Before we go over to Mr. Caesar for his closing remarks, uh, of course, people see Schumann as a hypocrite. But for some inexplicable reason, for the most part, he seemed to be very quiet now on this issue. Uh, Mr. Henry?
Well, thank you for raising that. We don't normally bring names at these sessions, but now that you have raised that name, I can tell you indeed that uh, we're looking like something again. I'm giving my word, like something of a mercenary, something of a mercenary. And at one time, I myself said, "Ooh, we've got a good fighter standing up on our behalf here." But when we began to see what he really stood for, is for himself and himself and himself, and the people were thrown aside. And indeed, I saw him belatedly coming out saying some things, but by then it was too late. People judge you emotionally and otherwise. If you come out, at the beginning of an issue to say, yes, we disagree with it, or I don't like what's happening here. Maybe he had to wait for somebody to give him orders to say, boy, it's looking bad, go and say something on behalf of your people. We don't need people like that in the political field. We need people who will stand up for the indigenous people and the people of Guyana. And I would say Ganesh is one who really stands up in Parliament, but we can talk about that another day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable MP. Somebody saying that Schumann has a GoFundMe for the people of Madhya. Do not trust Schumann with money. I repeat, do not trust Schumann with money. Do not trust Schumann with little girls around him either. Do not trust Schumann at all. Your closing remarks, and that's my opinion, mind you. Your closing remarks, please, Mr. Caesar, on anything you want to close off with, sir. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
sure. And Mark, I'm gonna make 2 points here. I'm gonna start off with Nigel Darmlau. I agree with Mr. Henry. He should be removed. He should have been removed from Parliament with immediate effect. The same as a minister also. That being said, he should also be tried, which I'm expecting, the DPP to do what she needs to do for once. We're talking about a young lady here with a full life ahead of her. And, she's going to have to live out her life, probably get in therapy, to deal with the demons of what would have happened to her during that ordeal. He should also be paying financial damages to that young lady. The government, the installed government, and President Irfan Ali has not reacted to this situation the way that a proper president, a proper leader would react to something like this. These allegations are damning. Someone don't just sleep in their bed and get up on the wrong side and make these type of allegations. They're damning coming from a young woman, and they should have done something about it. But look, I'm gonna say this: the PPP is really teetering on thin ice here, and I am certain that this party, with these guys that are leading this party, is gonna become irrelevant, totally irrelevant. So Ganesh, you guys keep your foot on the gas here, man. You guys have them exactly where you want them. They are very, very desperate now. They would have rigged, Ganesh, and I agree with you 100%. They would have rigged the 2020 elections and local government election. They tried their thing, but they just couldn't get through. And for the general election, Ganesh, you guys should be pushing to make sure that we have that clean list available for the general elections come 2025. We need
All right, well
change in
said. Thank you.
Guyana.
Well said, Mr. Caesar. Thank you as always for your time. We can't disagree with how you just put it over there, and we are thankful again. Let's have Mr. Ganesh Mahipal to get the last
Thank
word. As one second, you're going too fast as always. You got to remember, at this station you have a boss. Ganesh, take this time out to respond again to anything you wish to in your closing remarks, but I'd like you to specifically address the propaganda that the PPP is about to, or they're attempting to place out there on you. It's propaganda. That's what it is. Address that, please, sir.
All right, I will raise that as my second point. In fact, I have
Sure.
3 points that I want to close on, and the third one just came to mind, which I will treat as the first after listening to Mr. Caesar with the local government election.
Since you have 3 points, should I leave to go make me some coffee and return?
You should. I would say you should.
Go
Normally,
ahead,
when
sir.
I stay on, I stay on. Now, when
Go
people
ahead.
you on, so you're going to stay on.
Go ahead,
Now,
sir.
let me say this, Mr. Caesar, so that people can understand, the viewers can understand. When you look at the 2016, 2018, and 2023 local government elections results, you see a decline in the People's Progressive Party numbers, especially in their strongholds. Now, in 2023, they are in government. They campaigned like if there is going to be no other election in this country. They had what they termed as the red wave. They abused the state resources. They spent and spent and spent, and they had a mission. And that mission that they had was to basically show everybody that they have all the support in the world. And I was guided from information from within the PPP that had they gotten the results they wanted, they would have gone to call a snap election on the 18th of December 2023. But let me tell you, 2016, when they were in opposition in Rose Hall, they got 1,177 votes. In 2018, in opposition, they got 1,228 votes right in Rose Hall, a decline. Sorry, an increase, a small increase. Mm-hmm. In 2023, in government, with all the state resources, with all the funding that they spent behind local government elections, they got 1,008 votes, a decline from even what they had in 2016. Mm-hmm. In Blackbush Polder, another stronghold of theirs, in 2018, they had 2,083 votes. 2023 in government, they got 1,738 votes. In Corriverton, a stronghold of the PPP, in 2016, they got 3,137 votes. 2018, they declined to 3,033 votes. In 2023, with all the resources that they expended, they got 2,314 votes. In adventure number 28, they moved from 741 votes in 2016 to 682 in 2018 to 676 in 2023. Crabwood Creek, Molson Creek, in 2018 they had 1,997 and they decreased in 2023 to 1,506. In Blairmont, they had 1,450 votes in 2016, a decrease to 1,349 in 2018, and 2023 a further decline to 1,213. In Zelas Rosignol, they declined from 2,796 in 2016 to 2,602 in 2018 to 2,269 in 2023. In Better Hope LBI, from 5,044 in 2016 to 4,743 in 2018 to 4,365 in 2023. Caledonia Good Success, from 1,527 in 2016 to 1,215 in 2018 to 1,199 in 2023. Cane Grove, they declined from 1,301 in 2016 to 1,131 in 2018 to 1,069 in 2023. In Enmore Hope, they declined from 2,454 in 2016 to 2,159 in 2018 to 1,951 in 2023. In Monrepo, Larry Conans, or however you pronounce it, from 7,501 in 2016 to 6,930 in 2018 to 6,016 in 2023. In Unity, the area where Jagdio grew up, they declined from 2,344 votes in 2016 to 2,219 votes in 2018 to 1,862 votes in 2023. At Greenwich Park, Virginugen, from 894 in 2016 to 842 in 2018 to 752 in 2023. Lagrange Nimes decline from 1,221 in 2016 to 1,070 in 2018 to 1,032 in 2023. Mora Perica from 1,370 in 2016 to 1,202 in 2018 to 1,181 in 2023. Two Flood Potentia, a decline from 2,168 in 2016 to 1,931 in 2018 to 1,872 in 2023. Annandale River Stung from 2,632 in 2016 to 2,308 in 2018 to 2,248 in 2023. And the last one that I have here, because I know I'm exhausting my time, Anna Regina, the township of Anna Regina, from 4,310 in 2016 to 3,782 in 2018 to 3,657 in 2023. All of these that I've called are strongholds of the People's Progressive Party. And what we saw was a decline in the support that they have. Mind you, 2016 they were in opposition. They didn't campaign as much as they campaign now with state resources. They had none. They had nothing at their disposal save and except their own campaign earnings. 2018, the same thing. 2023, they stole government resources to focus it on campaign. Jagdio himself said that government ministers were not at their desk and they only returned 2 or 3 days after the elections. All the focus for 2023 was as though there's no other election in this country to happen. So this is a life or death campaign. And what we saw in their stronghold, significant decreases in their numbers. So that's the first point I want to make. The second point is the allegations that were made against Dharamlal are serious allegations. They are credible allegations. The mere fact that an investigation is going on, Child Care and Protection Agency is involved, it is extremely serious. There are persons, culprits, miscreants that are trying to play distraction politics. Tonight, they have attempted to besmirch my character by putting out some clippings, some WhatsApp screenshots, and they have basically started to circulate some very nasty and vulgar behavior. And they are associating it to me. I have already distanced myself from it. I have already pointed out where the error is in their attempt to make something real. You can see it is fake. You know, in these phones, when you use them, when people exchange pictures or they exchange documents or they exchange links or videos, there's a particular part that you go where you see the person's name and number. And at that particular part, you will see how many in totality accumulation for media, documents, and links. And there it had none. But listen, I really don't able justify stupidity. I am saying to the public that nonsense that is circulating on social media, it is amounting to cybercrime bullying. I was advised by a number of lawyers to make a report and to subsequently let the police get involved. But I am not going to allow the People's Progressive Party to distract me. And I don't want the people of Guyana to fall prey into distraction politics either. The People's Progressive Party are masters at distraction politics, and that is what they're trying to do. Dharamlal and his cohorts, live in Guyana on social media, Facebook, is controlled by Jason Abdullah and people of the PPP. And they are attempting to divert attention and distract our focus. The issue at hand here is that they have a pervert in their administration, and they have several perverts. And the allegations that were made against him, we cannot afford to lose focus. I am calling, and I'm going to end now on my third point. I am calling on Guyanese, near and far, to pay keen attention to what is in this allegation and to recognize that protecting our children, standing up to this installed regime, and to focus on what has to be done cannot singularly be 31 opposition members of parliament duty. It calls for more than that. It calls for you to join us and to put your hands and feet on the ground with us. It calls for you to stand up outside of Facebook and on Coffee Square tomorrow at 12 o'clock, where we will walk over on Vlesinjan Road in front of Office of the President, and we will be chanting for Dharamlal to go. And we will be doing the same on Thursday and the same on Friday until Dharamlal goes. And when Dharamlal goes, we are going to continue that, calling for a clean voters list, because we have to go back to the polls and we have to unseat these miscreants. We have to unseat these evil people that have stolen power and are squatting in office. I can sit here on this program and I can spend another 2 hours explaining to you how important it is for us to unseat the PPP, because all they focus on are families, friends, and favorites, a small clan of people hustling, a bunch of hustlers. They're trying to fill their pockets by not, and by so doing, not delivering the services they ought to deliver to the people of this dear land. Come out and join us. Use your lunch hour from work. Use your time. Yes, you can fight your battle on social media, but your physical presence is needed, because these people, the People's Progressive Party, sometimes they operate as though they understand nothing else rather than brute force and ignorance. But we're not going to give them ignorance. And the brute force that I speak of, that we're going to give them, is to do everything that is legally possible, enshrined in our Constitution, by way of civil disobedience, walking the streets, chanting, and letting the world know what is it that we are faced with in this country that is slowly becoming a dictatorship. Guyanese, I say to you, join the struggle. Join us. Walk with us. Work with us. Elect us at the next election, and a better life is guaranteed for all. Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you, Mr. Caesar, and thank you, Vincent Henry, for being with me on this program.
That was the second point or the third one?
That was the third one. You want me to go to two others?
Yeah, one of the things before I go, because I've noticed our people don't want to go. Vincent, I want to thank you so much, sir. And so, Mr. Caesar as well. You mentioned there were two protests today, one in front of the office of the president, one in front of GCOM. Again, repeat, what's the schedule for tomorrow's protest, Ganesh?
We're going to be in front of office of the president, Vicengian Road, from 11:30, 12 to about 1:30. So we're not looking to exhaust our protesters, because we're going to continue this struggle. And we're going to do that again on Thursday and again on Friday, and continuously. We have to send that message. 12 o'clock tomorrow at Office of the President, Vicengian Road. You can begin to assemble at Coffee Square, where there's a large portion of spot there for us to assemble. And then we simply walk over.
Simply walk over. Before we go, let me just ask, because I know, Mr. Henry, you took time out of your busy schedule to be here with us as Mr. Caesar. I don't want to keep repeating that. But is there anything else that, because Ganesh had 3 points, 4 points, you only had one. Caesar had one. Is there anything else that maybe you forgot to say to our people that you may want to mention before we go, sir? Anything
Caesar
at all?
Right? Caesar had two, and that's why I took three. Henry took one, Caesar two, and I took three.
Okay, thank you for giving me the opportunity. There are a lot of issues bothering us, but maybe some other day we can get to it. But one I want to raise is the carbon credit sale, and we use the example, the analogy that just imagine you have a mango tree in your yard, bearing lots of nice, fancy kilo mangoes, big mangoes. And then you go to your farm, because we go to our farm for a week sometimes, and you come back and find all the mangoes gone. Somebody came and they picked them out, and they disappeared. They sold it out. And then one day somebody comes back and tell you that, okay, I sold your mangoes, and I'm giving you 15% of my total sales. What manner of scampishness, what manner of, I'm looking for words to describe that happened there. And that is what the government did or is doing to the indigenous people. That is what. Without consultation, without free, prior informed consent, that's what happened. And then they went and said that they spoke with the National People's Council as a justification for doing that. And the National People's Council agreed. But legally, that shouldn't happen. The Amrani Act distinctly says that decisions dealing with like carbon credit and our lands and our forests, etc., will have to be made by the village general meeting. That wasn't done. So the whole carbon credit fiasco is illegal. And I wish I had the money to take them to court, for that. But time is not twine. Time is there, and it will have to be corrected. It will be corrected. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Henry. Caesar, anything quickly? 30 seconds, anything?
Yeah, sure, Mark. Listen, we right now we are in prime position. We have this installed government right where we want them. And listen, our motto in Guyana is not one Guyana. It's one people, one nation, one destiny under the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. So tonight I just want to urge all Guyanese, Indo-Guyanese, Afro-Guyanese, Indigenous Guyanese, all ethnic groups. You guys market together. You guys do everything together. Let's come together as one and have this government removed. This government is no good for Guyana. We have the perfect sample size. We're under a million people. We should easily be able to take care of our people with the amount of revenue that we have that's passing through our country. And so many foreign investors want to invest in our country. We must remember that this country was given to us as a gift from our foreparents, who would have went through, and our ancestors who would have went through a struggle, and it wasn't given to us for us to sell it off. So let's preserve our country. Let's continue to be a sovereign nation. Let's rally for a good government, a government that governs for the people, all the people, not a certain faction of the country. We make decisions together as one. Enough of the PPP. Enough of the PPP. That party, I hope it doesn't exist after this. Thank you,
All right,
Mark.
Mr. Caesar, thank you so much. The honorable MPs, I got to
I'm not
honorable Caesar too. All public figures here tonight except me. Gentlemen, thank you all so much.
Mark,
Mr. Henry, I've noticed people are calling for you to return. Hope to see you back soon. Ganesh, there's a saying in the Bible, and I'm sure there's such saying in the Bhagavad Gita, different interpretation in the Quran as well. But in the Bible it says, "No weapon that is formed against me shall prosper." No
that is,
weapon at all.
that is
No
true.
matter how much money they pay, no matter how much they offer, remember as you go to sleep tonight, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. We understand the propaganda of the PPP. They're wicked, they're dirty, they're vindictive, and they are cruel. They are unpatriotic, especially those bunch at Freedom House and at office of the president right now. Stay strong, my friend. Stay strong.
Thank you,
Thank
Mark.
you all.
Thank you. And I hope everyone join the protest tomorrow. Thank you.
Again, what time is it?
Thank you.
12 o'clock. 12 o'clock, Office of the
Coffee.
President, Vicengen Road. We can go at Coffee Square, and we will move from there over.
Thank you. We will share that live right here on 107.1 FM. Thank you, gentlemen. God bless you all.
Take care. Thank you, Caesar.
Good
Take
night,
care.
everyone.
Very
Yep.
nice.
Good night, guys.
Yes, guys, don't forget that protest tomorrow. Assembly Point is Square of the Revolution. 12 o'clock tomorrow. Those of you who are on the ground, no matter where you are, put some gas in your car and drive to town. Put some gas in your minibus, drive to town. Jump on your donkey cart, your horse cart, your bicycle. Jump on the ground and let us see that you are on the ground. You are on the ground, right? Hey, guess what? Look, this is what's happening. If Schumann is watching, somebody said that he has a GoFund for the Madhya people. Don't trust that guy with money. Right? Do not trust that guy with money. Do not trust him with your politics. Do not trust him with your life. Do not trust him with your community. Do not trust him with your young girl kids around him. Do not trust him, period. Schumann, do not trust him. Now, somebody could ask Schumann to explain to us, and this is no Photoshop or nothing. They could run out of it. Explain to us, who is this little girl he's with? We're almost certain that it's not his daughter. Who is this little girl? That's just the only question I want to ask, for him to come out publicly and say, who is this little girl? She is a little girl. Who is this little girl? Schumann, who is this little girl? Who? Who is she? Okay, enough said. You guys got to pray for Guyana. Enough said. Now, I'm not suggesting anything out of the ordinary. I'm just asking a question. Who is this little girl? Who is she? Oh, Father. Gosh. I'll be back tomorrow. In fact, I will carry right here, we will at 107.1 FM carry that protest. Let me say again to the opposition, you guys got to stay focused, right? You've got to stay focused. You have to stay focused, guys. GT Root Girl, Cheryl, and all others, Bantu King, Trevor Bowen, all of you, good evening to Commissioner Cole. You guys got to stay focused. Got to stay focused. The enemy is out there, and the enemy is the PPP. Lots of demonic creatures in the PPPC. God bless you all, man. God bless you all. We got to stay focused. Less noise, less vexation, less bitterness. If I were to be bitter, gosh, you wouldn't want to imagine. And I have every reason upon this earth to be bitter. Trust me. Little things happen to some people and they get bitter, they're vexed, all manner of things, ignoramus. I love you guys. Lachman Aziz, salam alaikum to you, my sister. Jackie Beard and all of you, Cyril Walker. Arlene, how are you? Good evening. Can't call all of your names, right? But you guys know who you are. God bless you all. I'm going to play this commercial from Shella in Washington. And lots of people called and messaged about last evening's program. As they say in the streets, young people, that it was the bomb. Thanks to our guest this evening. A repeat of a very informative program for you guys. God bless you all. Pray for that nation. Pray for the little girls. Pray for the little girls. Not just the little indigenous girls. The little Indian girls. The little African girls. The little Chinese girls or Portuguese girls. Pray for them. Pray for all of the little girls in Guyana. The system has failed them. And those fathers out there and mothers, stand up and protect your kids. Protect your little boys and your little girls. Stand up and protect them. Those fathers out there who are molesting their little girls. The system has failed those little girls as well. And one of these days, maybe we should have that discussion about fathers who molest their little girl kids. Or in some cases, to little boys. We've got to wake up. We've got to wake up as a nation. And we've got to get back into those days where it took a village. God bless you all. I'll be back tomorrow, starting from 11 o'clock, hopefully, I believe. Then again, I have graduation. Jonathan is graduating tomorrow. So I'll try to be with you guys. God bless you. I love you all of you. Even those who are bitter. God bless you. See you tomorrow.
Hello, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm, located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877 3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
All the friends I made, these memories will never fade. I'm proud of me and all that I can be. What's in you will see. I'm on my way. I'm kinder and smarter. I'm on my way. I'm braver and stronger. I'm on my way. What's me be the best that I can be? No, my way. My brain is a little bit stronger. My hair is a little bit longer. My teeth is a little bit prouder. My heart beats a little bit louder. Look at all the friends I've made. These memories will never fade. I'm proud of me and all that I can be. Watching you will see. I'm on my way. I'm cutting smarter. I'm on my way. I'm braver and stronger. I'm on my way. Watch me be the best that I can be. I'm on my way. I'm on my way. All the friends I made, these memories will never fade. I'm proud of me and all that I can be. What's in you will see. I'm on my way. I'm kinder and smarter. I'm on my way. I'm braver and stronger. I'm on my way. Watch me be the best that I can be. No, my way. My brain is a little bit stronger. My hair is a little bit longer. My teeth is a little bit prouder. My heart beats a little bit louder. Look at all the friends I've made. These memories will never fade. I'm proud of me and all that I can be. Watching you will see. I'm on my way. I'm cutting smarter. I'm on my way. I'm braver and stronger. I'm on my way. Watch me be the best that I can be. I'm on my way. I'm on my way.